it's beautiful that you have found a partner that he's kind, he's supportive, he's genius, he's so deeply in awe and in love with you. And that is the healthiest model for your family, for us as an audience and he also challenges you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. That's been so great knowing that my kids have seen a really good relationship. I mean, it's a real relationship, so there's whatever. There's been, it's not whatever, not perfect, but it's like been such a healthy, positive thing for them to see. I think that's been really nice knowing I've done that right. Ben's really good because we're both very analytical and really into like analyzing and, each other and ourselves. So that's kind of fun.
It seems like the book kind of came out of the podcast, like you were opening, and really the honesty that you guys get into was sometimes is I was like, wow, damn, you guys are getting honest. And do you think the book would have been as accessible for that honesty without the podcast?
Yeah, I think the podcast really opened me up to being honest like that and in a different way. I mean, I'm naturally kind of disarming and like vulnerable as a person in general, but I wasn't playing roles. It's that cliche, I guess. You're doing a character in a sense, when you're acting. And so, yeah, the podcast was like me. So it kind of let me know myself. And also, we were doing the podcast at Largo, that club in LA. We would do like a live thing there and some sort of like hosting certain nights. That also kind of opened me up to like performing in a different way. But yeah, the podcast for sure, I started seeing myself as someone who was sort of my thoughts and talking, my take on things was I was getting kind of comfortable doing that.
And also the life. I mean, that it's
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, I guess yeah. I've always been intrigued with some of the stories like the Mean Girls in in junior high. I had written those stories, as it's like for some reason teenage years are so intriguing, like writing about them. And so I'd been like kind of thinking about it, but not really as a memoir. I don't know. But yeah, it all kind of came together kind of quickly and the project felt really good. When some projects just like they just start coming together and it's hard work, but it feels like a good hard work.
how did it happen and what was your process like?
Just it was like funny this like there was another podcast, these celebrity book club, these two women talking about my mom and Anthony and how could she let her be with
I was
Anthony
on
and
that. I was on that part
oh
where
you were
and we actually did it live at Press Play in New York as part of
oh,
this.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked them and Ben was like, "Oh, look, they're talking about you." And then
But
I don't
there were
know, like there and a couple people. It was really just there was like in a short period of time, a lot of people sort of seemed interested in my life and my what happened, and then it just made me think. And then I thought, okay, I'll just see if there's like interest, and so yeah, it was kind of just the interest from people and fans, and then I was just wondering if then I could get interest in, the whole publishing world and all of that. And yeah, so it just happened like kind of fast and I felt like this was the time. I really I like people to I did want people to get to know me actually on a deep level and inside. I think I'm an actor. I like being seen in a certain way. So it kind of appealed to me. It wasn't also it was nice because it didn't feel like I need money. I have to do that. Didn't feel like I'm just like trying to do something to just out of, I don't know, you know what I mean?
to me it's always interesting an interview that goes where you can actually learn something where it's like
Oh, yeah.
that, which I
I
I'm
love that. I've learned more doing the interviews than writing the book. Like this is where, because people are like, what did you learn writing it? I'm like, I don't know. I was just like focused on telling the story and being in my feelings and remembering. Now it's been amazing. It's done what I've wanted, which is help me get over my first marriage properly and just like see myself. You know, you could see yourself from a different perspective and all the interview. This is like so helpful hearing what people picked up on and me getting to talk about it. I don't know. It's that's been really cool.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is the difference between writing is so isolating. That's one thing I always so love about bands because it's this group experience and you're out there and this mutual high and this give and take where
Yeah.
writing is just so you're in there kind of and it's alone. But then when you get out there, you get to kind of play in the fields of the Lord. You get these moments of real sublime connection. And
Yeah.
how has this been for Dono?
Well, yeah, at one point I was asking so many questions, you know, with my family and doing so much like Googling and research, trying to put together things like when things happen. And Ben said to me one day, because I kept asking Dono, my brother, certain details. And Ben was like, I said, seems a little short with me on my texts. And Ben's like, because you're asking him in such um, you know, logistical, whatever, like medical way almost. Because I was like, yeah, but I have to get these answers. I want to get it right. And he said, well, you're writing a book about your lives, your father. Like, why don't you talk to him like in a human way and connect and ask him how he's feeling about it? I was like, what do you mean? I've got a deadline, da 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 da. And he was, and then so I was like softened. And then, you know, but he's fine. He had just seen our father, so he was a little bit concerned because he doesn't want to do anything that's gonna, you know, we have just so many years left with our dad and we've just started, you know, we've seen him now for years now, but still very fragile relationship. So that helped. But he loved the book and he thought he was like, I can't believe I'm like, know so many people. And, you know, he was like, I just, all of a sudden I'm with this famous person. And then I was like, yeah, but that's what you were like. So he was kind of, it was fun, I think, for him to like read about himself. You know, so anyway, he really liked it. And I think he was amused by his, you know, the way he's just sort of like Forrest Gump, but for
Yeah,
famous, fun scenes. So yeah, he in the end he really had a good, I think, experience with it.
I want to ask you, you mentioned that Donovan had given you and Dono his legacy. And can 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 you define more of what that legacy entails?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's so complicated and there's good and there's bad, but for me, as far as it kind of helped me with my career, just the mystique of and the interest, people knowing that Donovan was my father, that's the side of the whole like Nepo baby thing that actually is helpful. And then you have to be talented and you still have to work and all of that. So I thought that was a good thing because you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to use anything I can take. And I liked being connected to him. Even when I didn't know him, I was proud of it because I like his music and it made me feel like proud that I was related to such a, you know, talented person. So that was really part of the legacy is that just that connection I find interesting. Um, but yeah, but then you also are just like the person, you know, you have to, you know, not everybody who's connected to someone who's like talented is, you know, like great person, but and yeah, I think it's you know, I don't know, a head fuck, of course, for my mom and me and my brother, like having this figure not be around. And it's so interesting that just like having a shamanic parent figure, or a figure in your life, it's so interesting. There's this book called, I think it's called Off the Road, written by one of the Beats wife, Cassidy. Neil Cassidy's wife wrote this book about being married to Neil Cassidy and like how crazy it's like so maddening to be, and especially a woman connected to this, all those beats and everyone worships them. So the sad, bad side is that these figures don't get, no one knows how awful they, can be with interpersonal relationships, but they get, people are so crazy. So it's just hard. I mean, as you get older and you learn like how to have friendships and family members where you just like try to enjoy the things that are good and try to kind of like, how do you, it's so hard. I love worshiping people and I love looking up to people and I love being like lit up by people. So it gets confusing when I'm like, but then they're also awful in this other way in their life. It's just like so confusing. But as I got older, I'm getting better and better at like just like seeing people for who they really are and trying to still enjoy them and not be just like deflated when I'm like, oh, they don't show up for me or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know. My mom, I'm sure it's been different to her. And it's funny, we don't really talk, my brother and I, as much as I'd like about this shared thing we have, which is this father that wasn't around for us that we both admire so much.
How has
But
it been?
he's not, yeah, he doesn't like talking. He likes keeping things light.
I had to keep reminding myself because of like another lifetime that I knew your brother because he was in that JT world. I mean, I think we went to his house, when he was in the band.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I remember the story where I think he was in Thailand, and that he had switched right they were going to do the something like in the beach, and then asked a family had asked them to switch because they did the elephant rides, or the elephant, which was up in the mountains. And if they hadn't have done that switch, they didn't that he didn't know what happened to that family because there was a tsunami.
Oh my God. That's right. I totally forgot.
I've
That's
never
crazy.
forgotten that story. I mean,
Wow, that's right.
that's so,
That's crazy. I
yeah.
thought you were telling a story where there were he was somewhere with some models and they were trying to buy weed or something. And then the guy took the money and was like, I'll be right back with the
That's like
change.
a
And then
white Lotus
an,
story.
and now like an hour later, like, I don't think they're coming back with the weed or the change to our money. Well,
Yeah.
that's intense. Yeah.